So I wanted to show you guys this game that I played on Highway, and this is probably going to be a fairly long video. In fact, because I know I'm going to talk a good amount at the end, I'm likely going to fast forward through most of this, like the start of this game and even the middle of the game, because what I want to show you guys is the end of the game, right? So we're going to be on Highway. We're on the southwest spawn, guys. In the Hawk 30, I'm running this thing with CVS in the scouting slot, optics, and bounty low noise exhaust. And we have a good amount of mediums in this game, and you're going to see what happens here, right? I come to this bush line. This is pretty popular for light tanks coming from the southwest spawn. You can spot a lot of mediums. We spot 4 people coming in here, so these guys have good information. But what's weird about this one is that the Centurion's actually going to YOLO me here, which I find this doesn't happen to me very often at all. And the problem with him making this play is that we don't have tank destroyers back here to support. Our Waffle just kind of camped this bush, which I found to be really passive on his part, but you'll kind of see how that works out later in the game. But he sits here the whole game, and it's like, dude, it would be really nice if this guy was like right here to take shots at the Centurion, right? If he was like G2 or something, and was just careful that he didn't get lit, right? Just like push up and don't get lit. But the Centurion pushes, right? And then I return back to this location. I take a shot at the KPZ, and now the KPZ is doing the same thing. The KPZ is pushing down the middle of the field. And like, this is rare, man. I like never see people do this, right? So now I'm trying to run away from this location. The Waffle Panzer gets lit over here, and I'm also getting spotting damage on him. And then the other Waffle Panzer that's camping up here gets a shot to me. And it's like, I need to just leave this area, man. There's too much going on. I need to let the mediums kind of figure this out over here, because I now have lost almost half of my HP just by getting hit by the Waffle once. And you know, it's an unfortunate turn of events, but I'm trying to fight off 2 mediums, basically. You know, we were able to double bush up here. We were very fancy about how we were doing that. We were sitting here and shooting through one bush and then through the next bush, and I was able to not get spotted. That's how I was doing that against the Centurion, in case you were wondering. But I leave this location, guys, and now we're going to lose the city, and I'm kind of caught in between plays now. Like, do I go back and try and fight the KPZ again, or like, what do I do here? I'm not sure, so I'm just looking for shots for now at the mediums, or I'm sorry, the heavies in the city, and then I'm looking for shots at the KPZ. Eventually, what I decide to do is make an active pass just to see if I can spot the KPZ. I knock down some trees for the Waffle Panzer, and I'm trying to make just a quick active run, but this is extremely risky, right? And then the 430 decides to push, and the 430 dies to the Yag Tiger up here. The Yag Tiger hadn't been spotted yet, but he dies to the Yag, and I think it's like the Iron Arnie or Skoda. I think it might be the Skoda that retreats and defeats him here. And I don't know, man. Like, I felt like I was so passive in this game, but I'm caught between plays, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do, because this whole area is a brawl, right? And I think a couple of these guys went back, so it was the KPZ actually up here. And the 430, I guess, goes after him and then gets greeted by the Yag Tiger and whatever and dies. So this is a situation where I feel like I could have done more, but you really, on Highway, like, Highway is such a wide open map that it scares me to try and do anything too aggressively, right? Like, we could try and run up here and maybe spot the enemy Waffle Panzer or something, but there's a brawl going on in the city. I don't want to run through these trees and get whacked in the side plate by like the Caliban or something like that. Like, I don't want to just throw away my HP. So their KPZ actually gets eliminated from the game by the 430, but the Yag Tiger, I guess, cleans him up, and now this is an open side of the map. Right, this whole side of the map is open. Waffle is still all the way back here, and we have 4 mediums. The T-34-3 has 1100 HP. Our Mod 1 still has half of his HP. The T-54 has half of his HP. The Sharpshooter still has like a third of his HP, but he just took 2 shots, right? So like, I need these guys to start pushing in and try and eliminate the Caliban and other people here, but they just get caught out. The T-34-3 tries to push in. I think all these guys just pushed in erroneously. I'm trying to grab a corner here to maybe use my gun and help these guys, but I'm just not in the right areas, right? And I felt like I kept thinking about this game as I played, you know, the rest of my session, and I'm like, what the heck else could I have done here, man? And you can't beat yourself up about it, guys, but I really just couldn't think of anything else I could do safely. I poked here, the Waffle Panzer was here, right? And he ends up whacking the T-54. The T-54 is trying to eliminate the Caliban, and this guy gets eliminated, I guess, by the Caliban as well. T-54 is able to eliminate the Caliban. I take a shot to the Waffle to try and get this guy to retreat a little bit, but ultimately the T-54 ends up dying here, probably to the Waffle and somebody else. But at this point, I need to run away. So I kind of leave the T-54 here. I could have stayed here, right? I think the better play would have been for me to stay here, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, we haven't seen the Skoda in a while. We haven't seen the Jagdtiger in a while. I need to get back so we don't get flanked. So now this is, you see what I mean, guys? Like, hindsight's always 20/20, and there's, in games like this where it's really close, there's usually multiple plays you can make, and you just don't know. Based on what the enemy team is doing, you don't know exactly what's going to happen until it happens. So the T-54 ends up getting wrecked here by the Skoda, and I wasn't there to help him, though I would argue, I don't know, even if I was like in this area, I don't know if I even would have been able to get a shot into this guy. But I have to run away from here, right? I have to run away and try and defend the base, and you know, it's unfortunate, but I'm basically choosing the Waffle Panzer over the T-54 at this point because this guy's been sitting in the back the whole time. He's defending the base, and I need to spot for this guy because, again, we have no idea where the Jagdtiger went, and up until that point, we didn't know where the Skoda went. Maybe the Skoda was flanking, but had I known that the Skoda was going to push into the T-54, I might have stayed here, right? So it's just like, people can say what they want when they watch the replay. At Whirls, you could have done this, you could have done that, but you don't know. You don't know until it happens, right? And I feel like people, the people that comment on my channel, so I get a lot of, you know, friendly comments and all, and you guys asking questions, but there's always like that one troll person on some videos that's like, you were way too passive, you could have done this, you could have done that. And the way they say it is not in a manner of being friendly, right? It's like a very trollish kind of response, which happens. Like, this is when you make videos, man, everyone's going to troll you from time to time, but I feel like these people are not understanding, like, hindsight is 20/20. You can see what happens once you're watching the replay, and you can say whatever you want. You could have made this play, you could have made that play, but up until these things happen, like the Skoda pushing in and stuff, you don't know if it's going to happen or not. You don't know what these people are going to do. I didn't know up until this point the Jagdtiger was going to push. I didn't know the Iron Army was going to get spotted here. You guys understand what I'm saying here? So you just don't know, and you have to try and play it as if you don't know, which you don't, right? So I'm trying to play it as passively as I can, and sure enough, this ended up being a really smart play on my part because we spot the Jagdtiger in this location. Like, this is a perfect location because we actually lit the Iron Army. I almost was able to clean him up. We're preventing the Waffle from pushing in. We're spotting the Jagdtiger, and in fact, the Waffle completely cleans up the Jagdtiger because of my spotting, right? So it's just incredible what you can do making certain plays, but if we had made a different play, guys, would the result of this game be different? And I'll spoil it for you now. We did lose this game. The Skoda and the Iron Army were both one-shots by the end of this game, and the Waffle, I ended up dying right here, right, because I was a little too aggressive. The Waffle Panzer ended up, as I came back, right, to try and help with the Jagdtiger, the Waffle Panzer on the enemy team ended up getting into like one of these bushes, and he outspotted me as I'm pushing into this area again. And that's why I was telling this guy, like, dude, retreat, like, retreat with me, and he didn't want to. So now I have to come out and try and spot again, right, because the Waffle does not want to retreat here. And this guy hasn't moved the whole game. He seems like an average player. It's like, whatever, man. But I think at this point, if the two of us came back to this hill, we probably would have won this game. And that was what I was trying to get him to do. I'm telling him in the chat, like, dude, come back with me, right? But unfortunately, I can't. Like, the Skoda has now taken an area where I have to be here to try and basically not take shots from the Skoda, right? So I'm trying to run away here to get to like this corner so that I'm not getting whacked by the Skoda, where, again, hindsight's 20/20. I probably could have just sat here. That would have been safer, but I didn't know exactly where the Waffle was either, so Waffle was sitting up in here, and then I didn't realize, like, see how this ridgeline works, man? Like, you can easily get a shot from up here down into someone. So he took this shot into me, and luckily it spotted him, and the Waffle was able to clean him up and light him on fire, which was kind of lucky. But that's what ended up happening, guys, and we did 4K spotting, right? The Waffle tried his best here, but he ends up getting outplayed by the Skoda. He gets one more shot into the Skoda, and he leaves him at a one shot, and the Iron Army at a one shot, and that's the game. So what else could we have done here? You know, you can go back and look, and I encourage you guys to do this with your own games. When you play a game that's this close, go back and rewatch it and see what you could have done differently, right? I really think, like, had we stayed here and gotten one more shot into the Skoda, and the Waffle was able to get this shot in the end, it would have just been the Iron Army at the end here, but still the Iron Army would have came out on top, likely because the Waffle would have been on reload, he would have came up and shot him. So If everything worked out exactly the same, other than me just staying here for an extra 10 seconds or 15 seconds to get a shot at the Skoda, maybe it would have been 13 to or 14 to 15, right? You don't know. Like, this is what I mean about, I keep telling you guys, like, hindsight is 2020. You can always go back and go, oh, I could have made this play, I could have made that play, but you didn't know at the time what these guys were going to do. Could I have maybe tried to stay longer in this area of the map? You know, and because the Skoda flanked around eventually going this way, maybe I could have gotten a couple shots into the Skoda. I could have spotted him. Maybe if I went up to this hill or something like that, instead of spotting for the waffle. But then if I didn't spot for the waffle, the Jagdtiger would have pushed in easily. The waffle would have pushed in easily. So it's like you can look at it and try in your head. You can try to say, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? But still, you do not know what other players would have done. If they had found me here, up here, the Skoda probably would have made. Skoda's a really good player. He's a purple player. If he saw me up here, he might have made a different play to now push with the waffle instead. So you can run all the scenarios in your head, guys, and try and figure out what you could have done differently. But honestly, I felt like I played this pretty well. The only thing that I think I could have done differently again was maybe try to get a different angle in the city, or maybe I could have stayed out on this you know, northwest portion of the map to try and help the mediums, but all the mediums came back anyway. So once we won this, so do I want to stay out here by myself? You see what I mean? Like, there's all these little, it's like a tree, right? And all these branches coming out saying, well, we could have done this, we could have done that, we could have done this, but, and then there's more branches, right? On those branches, like, well, this could have happened if we did this could have happened if we did this could have happened if we did this. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? I hope this makes sense. It's the best demonstration I can give for you. Like, there's so many options, but then there's other things that can happen if you decide to choose a different option. So that's what happened here, and I really wish that maybe I had just done one thing differently so we can see how this, you know, would have turned out. But it is what it is, man, and we have to move on. I saved only the one end plate because I knew that I was going to talk a lot at the end of this game. 44-59 spotting, guys, 11-25 damage. I did well, but could we have done better is the question. It was a third-class game, unfortunately, a defeat, yeah. But I hope what I'm saying here makes sense to you guys. You know, go back and rewatch your games, and it'll definitely help you become a better player. But what you have to remember is when you're playing the game, you don't know what the enemies are going to do. So when you rewatch the game, you can beat yourself up and go, well, the Skoda did this, so I could have done this, but you didn't know that at the time, right? So just do your best, guys, and don't beat yourself up over it. I always beat myself up over these games because I always feel like I could play better, because I am a good player with light tanks, right? So I hold myself to a high standard, but it's just like some games, man, they just turn out the way they turn out, and it's like you can't get them back, right? You can't go back and do it over again, right? Just like everything in life. Like once things happen in your life, man, you can't go back and do it over again and change your opinion or change something you did, right? So that's all, guys, but I felt like I should really show you guys this video so you can see kind of how things turn out depending on the situations you depending on what you do in the game, right? The situation can be different, but I'm just showing you guys another one of those examples, man, right? Where you could make one play and it doesn't work. You could make it a different play and it works, but then in the next game, it's the opposite, right? That first play does work, the second play doesn't work. So I don't know, man. I don't know how else to say it in this video, but I hope you guys understand what I'm getting at, and that's all. So there you go, Highway Hawk 30, really close game. Tried my best, we lost. Boo-hoo. Catch you guys for the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.